The space around the Andromeda trading corridor was always busy. Ships from 100 different worlds came here to trade, to talk, and to make deals. Today was supposed to be just another normal day, but it would become the day that changed everything. Captain Daewon Kim stood on the bridge of his ship, the Indomitable. He was a calm man with gray hair and tired eyes. 20 years in the military had taught him patience. His ship moved slowly toward the trading station, its metal hull reflecting the light from nearby stars. "Sir, we are approaching the station," said Commander Ji-Woo Park. She was his second in command, a woman who never smiled but always got the job done. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "Good," Daewon replied. "Send them our greeting. Tell them we come in peace." The Indomitable looked small compared to other ships in the area. It was only 300 meters long. Its surface was smooth and gray. Only a few weapons could be seen on the outside. To anyone watching, it looked like a simple cargo ship. Nothing special, nothing dangerous. But someone was watching very carefully. High Commander Vrexis sat in his command chair aboard the Kaltorian flagship. The Kaltorians were one of the most powerful species in this part of space. They had conquered 47 star systems. Their ships were massive, covered in weapons and thick armor. Vrexis himself had destroyed entire fleets. "What is that?" Vrexis pointed at the screen showing the human ship. Science Officer Quenther looked up from his station. "It appears to be a human vessel, Commander. They call it the Indomitable." "Humans?" Vrexis laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "The primitives who just learned to travel faster than light? What are they doing here?" "They say they come for diplomacy, sir." Vrexis waved his hand like he was brushing away a fly. "Scan their ship. I want to know what technology these newcomers have. It will be amusing to see how far behind they are." Quenther hesitated. "Sir, scanning another ship without permission is considered an act of aggression in this zone. The neutral treaty—" "Do it," Vrexis said coldly. "What will they do? Attack us with their tiny ship?" Quenther nodded and began the scan. Deep, penetrating beams of energy reached out from the Kaltorian ship. They touched the hull of the Indomitable and began to look inside. On the human bridge, alarms started beeping. "Captain, we are being scanned," said Lieutenant Hana Lee from the weapons station. Her voice was sharp and clear. "It is a full structural scan. Deep level." Daewon's calm face did not change, but his eyes became hard. "Open a channel to the Kaltorian ship." A moment later, his voice went out across space. "Kaltorian vessel, this is Captain Daewon Kim of the Earth Defense Force ship Indomitable. You are performing an unauthorized scan of our vessel. This is considered a hostile action. Please stop immediately." On the Kaltorian bridge, Vrexis heard the message and laughed again. "Hostile action? Tell the human that if I wanted to be hostile, his ship would already be dust." The scan continued. Energy beams pushed deeper into the Indomitable, reading every layer, every system, every hidden space. Dr. Tae-Yang Choi, the chief engineer, looked up from his station. "Captain, they are scanning our reactor core, our weapons systems, everything. Should I activate countermeasures?" "No," Daewon said quietly. "Let them look. Let them see what they are dealing with." Commander Ji-Woo turned to look at him. "Sir?" "Trust me," Daewon said. There was something like sadness in his voice. Sometimes the best weapon is knowledge. On the Kaltorian flagship, Quenther watched his screens as data poured in. At first, he saw what he expected. A small ship. Basic systems. Nothing impressive. But then the scan went deeper and his four eyes began to widen. "Commander," he said slowly, "I am getting strange readings." "Strange how?" Vrexis was bored now, looking at other screens. "The hull, it is not what it appears to be. The outer layer is thin titanium, yes, but beneath that—" Quenthar's voice became uncertain. "Beneath that are 40 more meters of armor. Composite materials, carbon weaves, synthetic diamonds, depleted uranium." Vrexis sat up straighter. 40 meters? That is impossible. No ship that small could carry so much armor. "There is more, sir." Quenther's hands were shaking now. "The reactor. It is not fusion. It is—" "Sir, they are using antimatter, contained antimatter. The power output is—" He stopped and checked his instruments again. "It is equal to a small star." The bridge became very quiet. Even Vrexis had stopped moving. "Continue the scan," Vrexis said. His voice was not so confident now. Quenther worked faster. More data appeared. His face, which was already pale, became even whiter. "The weapons, sir. Those few guns we can see on the surface, they are not the real weapons. There are hidden ports. Hundreds of them. Inside the hull are railguns, plasma cannons, missile systems. How many weapons? Vrexus demanded. 247 separate weapon systems, sir. And there is something else. Something the computer cannot identify. It just labels it as extreme danger. Vrexus stood up from his chair. This must be an error. Scan again. I have scanned 3 times, sir. The results are the same. Quenthar looked up and there was fear in his eyes. Commander, there is one more thing. The ship. It is not one ship. What do you mean? Inside the hull there are 7 more reactor signatures. 7 more complete weapon systems. The Indomitable is not a ship. It is a carrier. It contains 8 independent warships, each one capable of operating alone. The silence on the bridge was complete now. Every Kaltorian officer stared at their screens, trying to understand what they were seeing. Admiral Threxian's face suddenly appeared on the main screen. He was the supreme commander of all Kaltorian forces, calling from the home world. His expression was grave. Vrexus, the admiral said. His voice was like ice. I have been monitoring your actions. Stop what you are doing. Apologize to the humans. Do it now. But Admiral, they are not just anything, the admiral interrupted. Our intelligence division has been studying humans for months. We thought they were primitives. We were wrong. Very wrong. Their whole history is nothing but war. 10,000 years of killing each other. They have survived ice ages, plagues, and nuclear weapons. When they finally came to space, they brought all that knowledge with them. Vrexus felt cold. What are you saying? I am saying that you just scanned a species that builds their diplomatic ships like doomsday weapons. Apologize. Before they decide you are a threat. The transmission ended. Vrexus stood frozen, staring at the small human ship on his screen. It looked so harmless, so simple. But now he knew the truth. Quenthar spoke, his voice barely a whisper. Sir, what have we done? Before anyone could answer, new alarms began to sound. More human ships were coming out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 6 of them. Each one just as small and harmless-looking as the Indomitable, which meant each one was just as deadly. A transmission came through. A woman's voice, cold and hard as steel. Kaltorian vessel, this is Admiral Subin Kang of the Earth Defense Force flagship Retribution. You have committed an act of aggression against one of our ships. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare to receive our terms. If you do not comply, we will assume you wish to continue hostile actions. Choose carefully. Vrexus looked around his bridge. He saw fear on every face. His mighty Kaltorian fleet, which had conquered worlds, was suddenly very aware that they might have made a terrible mistake. The humans had arrived in the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same again. The tension in space was thick enough to cut with a knife. 7 human warships floated in perfect formation, waiting. The Kaltorian fleet, 47 ships strong, had gone completely silent. Every captain, every warrior, every soldier was staring at their screens and trying to understand what was happening. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Subin Kang stood with her hands behind her back. She was a small woman, barely over 5 feet tall, but everyone who met her knew she was dangerous. Her black hair was tied back tight. Her uniform was perfect. Her eyes missed nothing. Time? She asked. 15 seconds left, Admiral, said Lieutenant Jaehua Nam. He was young but brilliant, his mind always working on numbers and tactics. Have they powered down weapons? No, ma'am. Their weapons are still active. But they are not targeting us. They are scared, Kang said quietly. Good. Fear makes people think before they act. On the Kaltorian flagship, Vrexus was trying to decide what to do. His military training told him to fight. His pride told him to fight. But the scan data on his screen told him that fighting would be suicide. Sir, we must respond, said his weapons officer. The deadline is almost over. A new figure appeared on the screen. She was Counselor Zephyra, a Kaltorian diplomat who had been on the station. Her voice was urgent. Commander Vrexus, for the love of our people, stand down. This is not a fight we can win. How can you say that? Vrexus snapped. We have 47 ships. They have 7. Numbers do not matter here, Zephyra replied. I have been reading reports about humans. Every species that met them in the past made the same mistake. They thought humans were weak because they are new to space. But humans did not come to space to explore. They came to survive. There is a difference, Quenthar spoke up. The counselor is right, sir. Look at the reactor output of just one human ship. It is 3 times more powerful than our entire flagship. If they wanted to destroy us, they could do it in minutes. 5 seconds, HFY said on the Retribution. Vrexus made his choice. Power down all weapons. Open a channel to the human admiral. A moment later, his face appeared on the Retribution's main screen. He looked tired and defeated. Admiral Kang, he said. I am High Commander Vrexus of the Kaltorian Third Fleet. I apologize for scanning your vessel without permission. It was wrong. We meant no real harm. We were simply curious about your technology. Kang studied him for a long moment. Curiosity is not an excuse for aggression, Commander. In human space, what you did would be grounds for war. I understand. What are your terms? Before Kang could answer, Captain Daewon's voice came through on a private channel. Admiral, may I speak? Go ahead, Captain. I recommend we accept the apology. The commander made a mistake, but he is trying to fix it. We came here for diplomacy, not war. On the Indomitable's bridge, Dr. Yunseo Huang nodded in agreement. She was a specialist in alien cultures, and she had been watching the Kaltorians carefully. Captain Daewon is right, Admiral. Their body language shows genuine regret. They did not know our customs. This is a teaching moment, not a fighting moment. Kang considered this. She was known for being tough, but she was not cruel. Very well. Commander Vrexus, here are my terms. First, you will issue a formal apology to Captain Daewon and his crew. Second, you will share the scan data of our ships with every major power in this region. Vrexus blinked in surprise. You want us to share the data? Why? Because, Kang said with a cold smile. I want everyone to know what happens when they threaten human ships. I want every species in this sector to see what we are capable of. That way no one else will make the same mistake you did. Vrexus nodded slowly. I accept your terms. Thank you for your mercy. Do not thank me yet, Kang replied. If anyone attacks a human ship again, there will be no mercy. Only fire, the transmission ended. On ships throughout the trading corridor, people began to breathe again. War had been avoided, but just barely. In a small ship on the edge of the system, Merchant Captain Minseo Yoon watched everything happen. She was a human who had been trading with aliens for 5 years. She had always told them that humans were peaceful. Now she was not sure if they would believe her anymore. This changes everything, she whispered to herself. She was right. Within hours, the scan data began spreading across the galaxy. Every military commander, every scientist, every leader saw the same thing. The human ship called Indomitable was not just a ship. It was a weapon built by a species that understood war in ways most aliens never could. On a distant world, the Veltharan hegemony received the data. They were a powerful empire that controlled 83 star systems through force and fear. Their leaders looked at the human ship designs and began to worry. On the Retribution, Ensign Bora Shin was working at her communication station when something unexpected happened. Her screen lit up with incoming signals, Admiral, she said, her voice uncertain. We are receiving messages from multiple sources. 17 different species want to open diplomatic channels with Earth. 4 of them are requesting military alliances. Kang raised an eyebrow. Already? Yes, ma'am. And there is more. 3 species are asking us to help them defend against their neighbors. 2 are offering to buy human weapons. 1 is asking if we accept mercenary contracts. Lieutenant Jaehua looked up from his tactical display. This is not good, Admiral. We just showed the galaxy that we have powerful weapons. Now everyone either wants to be our friend or wants to use us as soldiers. Or they are afraid of us, Kang added. Fear can be useful, but it can also be dangerous. Scared people do stupid things. On the Kaltorian flagship, the situation was growing worse. A young Kaltorian officer named Vrexul was watching the human ships with hatred in his eyes. He was the nephew of a famous general. He believed that Kaltorians never apologized to anyone. This is wrong, he said to another officer. We are warriors. We should not bow to these humans. Be quiet, the other officer hissed. Commander Vrexus made the right choice. Did he? Vrexul stood up and walked to his weapon console. Or did he just show weakness? Before anyone could stop him, Vrexul locked onto the Indomitable and fired a plasma bolt. It was not a full-power shot, but it was still strong enough to destroy a building. He called it a warning shot, but in reality it was an act of war. The plasma bolt crossed space in 3 seconds. It hit the Indomitable directly on the hull. On the human ship, alarms rang out. Lieutenant Hana Lee checked her systems. Captain, we have been hit by weapons fire from the Kaltorian fleet. Damage? Daewon asked calmly. None, sir. Shields absorbed the impact completely, not even a scratch on the hull. Daewon's face became very serious. Open a channel to Admiral Kang. Kang's face appeared on his screen. She looked angry. Very angry. Admiral, we have been fired upon, Daewon said, requesting permission to return fire under defensive protocols. Kang did not hesitate. Permission granted. But I do not want you to hit them. I want you to scare them. Show them what a real warning shot looks like. On the Kaltorian flagship, chaos had broken out. Vrexus had Vrexual arrested immediately, but the damage was done. The shot had been fired. War had begun. All ships raise shields, Vrexus shouted. Prepare for human counterattack. But the attack did not come from the Indomitable. Instead, one of the other human ships moved forward. It was called the Vengeance, commanded by Captain Hyunwoo Song. This is Captain Song to all human vessels. His voice came through on the fleet channel. I have the shot. Firing in 5 seconds. On the Vengeance, Commander Eunji Baek prepared the weapons. She was the best gunnery officer in the fleet. Her fingers moved across the controls with perfect precision. Railgun batteries 1 through 12 ready, she reported. Target locked. Empty space 500 kilometers from the Kaltorian flagship. Fire, Song ordered. The railguns fired. 12 projectiles, each weighing 10 tons, accelerated to incredible speed. They moved so fast that they became invisible. The Kaltorians could not even see them on their sensors. Half a second later, empty space exploded. The kinetic energy from 12 projectiles hitting the same point created something that looked like a small sun. Light filled the entire system. Heat washed over every ship. The electromagnetic pulse from the explosion shut down sensors across the trading corridor. When the light faded and the sensors came back online, everyone saw something impossible. The 12 projectiles had not just exploded randomly. They had been perfectly calculated to create a specific pattern. Floating in space, written in exotic particles that glowed bright blue, was a single word in Kaltorian language. Warning. The message would stay visible for 1 hour. 1 hour for every ship in the system to see. 1 hour for everyone to understand that humans did not just have powerful weapons. They had precise weapons. Weapons that could write messages in space using nothing but kinetic force and mathematics. On the Kaltorian flagship, Quenthar was speechless. That is impossible, he whispered. The calculations required, the precision. No one can do that, but humans could, and now everyone knew it. The word hung in space like a threat. Warning. It glowed in blue light, impossible to miss, impossible to ignore. Every ship in the trading corridor could see it. Every captain, every crew member, every person watching knew what it meant. Humans were not to be provoked. On the Kaltorian flagship, Vrexus sat heavily in his command chair. His hands were shaking. In 30 years of military service, he had never felt fear like this. The human weapons had not even touched his ship, yet he felt like he was staring into death itself. Calculate the energy from that shot, he ordered Quenthar. The science officer worked in silence for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was hollow. If those 12 projectiles had hit our flagship instead of empty space, our shields would have failed in less than 1 second. Our armor would have been pierced in less than 2 seconds. The ship would have been split in half in less than 3 seconds. And that was 1 ship, another officer added quietly. 1 ship out of 7. Vrexus closed his eyes. Send a message to the human admiral. Tell her we surrender. Tell her we will comply with all her terms. Tell her we beg for peace. As the Kaltorian fleet began to power down all weapons, something unexpected happened. New ships appeared at the edge of the system. Not human ships, not Kaltorian ships, these were different. Admiral, Ensign Bora said urgently on the Retribution. We have multiple contacts entering the system. 83 ships. They are broadcasting Veltheran hegemony identification codes. Admiral Kang's expression did not change, but everyone on the bridge saw her jaw tighten. The Veltherans were bad news. They were slavers and conquerors who believed in one simple rule. Might makes right. What is their heading? Kang asked. They are moving toward the trading station. And toward us, ma'am. A transmission came through. The face that appeared on screen was reptilian, with scales and sharp teeth. This was Fleet Commander Valthos. leader of the Veltharan force. "Attention all vessels," Valthos said. His voice was like gravel grinding together. "This system is now under Veltharan control. We detected a military conflict here and claim salvage rights over all damaged vessels and stations. All ships will surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 1 minute to comply." On the human ships, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then slowly, people began to react. "Are they serious?" Lieutenant Hanali asked on the Indomitable. "Did they not see what we just did?" Captain Daewon studied the Veltharan ships on his display. "They saw. But they think our demonstration used up most of our energy. They think we need time to recharge our weapons." "They think wrong," Commander Jiwoo said flatly. On the Retribution, Commander Wanshik Lim was pulling up intelligence files on the Veltharans. "Admiral, the Veltharans are known for aggressive expansion. They have conquered 41 systems in the past century. They take slaves from every world they control. They will not negotiate. They only understand force." "Then we will speak their language," Kang replied. She opened a channel. "Fleet Commander, Valthos, this is Admiral Subin Kang of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered a neutral zone where we are conducting peace negotiations. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Valthos laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Admiral, I count 7 of your ships. I have 83. Your mathematics are poor. Surrender now and I might let your crews live as slaves rather than corpses." "You miscounted," said a new voice. Captain Sua Ryu of the human ship, Defiance, was speaking. "You do not have 83 ships against 7. You have 83 ships against 56. 56? I see only 7 human vessels." "Then watch carefully," Ryu said. On command from Admiral Kang, all 7 human carrier ships activated their deployment systems. The hulls opened. From inside each carrier, 7 smaller ships emerged. They were not tiny. Each one was still a full warship, complete with weapons and its own reactor. In seconds, the 7 human ships became 56. On the Veltharan flagship, War Master Kiraxix stared at his screen in disbelief. "That is impossible. They hid entire fleets inside their ships. The structural stress alone should have torn those vessels apart." But Commander Wanshik knew the truth. Humans had learned long ago that sometimes you had to accept terrible risks to survive. Each carrier ship was indeed one hull breach away from catastrophe. But that was a risk humans were willing to take. The Kaltorian fleet, which had been preparing to surrender, suddenly received a transmission from Vrexus. His message was simple. "All ships, move into formation with the human fleet. We fight together." On the Indomitable, Dr. Yun Seo looked surprised. "Captain, the Kaltorians are joining us?" "They are smart," Daewon replied. "They know we could have destroyed them earlier, but we chose peace instead. Now they see us defending the neutral zone against real aggressors. They are choosing the right side." Ambassador Trilix, a Kaltorian diplomat, opened a public channel. "Veltharan hegemony. You are witnessing an illegal invasion of neutral space. The High Council of Neutral Worlds is monitoring this situation. Any act of aggression will be recorded and prosecuted under galactic law." Valthos growled. "Galactic law is written by the strong. I count 103 ships on my side now, 47 Kaltorian, 56 human, against my 83. We still have superior firepower." "You are calculating wrong again," Admiral Kang said coldly. "You are not fighting ships. You are fighting weapons. There is a difference." Lieutenant Jaehua ran the numbers on his tactical computer. "Admiral, combined firepower of human and Kaltorian forces, 2,800 petawatts. Veltharan fleet, 900 petawatts. They are outgunned 3-1. On the Veltharan flagship, similar calculations were appearing on Kiraxix's screens. He went pale. "Commander Valthos, we should reconsider. The tactical computer is showing a 98% probability of total fleet destruction if we engage." But Valthos was proud. Too proud. He had won every battle for the past 20 years. He could not imagine losing now. "The computer is wrong. Prepare all ships for attack. We will overwhelm them with numbers and firepower. Before he could give the final order, a new transmission came through. It was from the Veltaran homeworld. High Regent Zalthara herself appeared on screen. She was old and wise, covered in deep blue scales. "Fleet Commander Valthos," she said. Her voice was like ice. "Stand down immediately. That is an order." "But Regent, we have them outnumbered." "You have nothing," Zalthara snapped. "Our intelligence division just received the scan data of human warships. We have analyzed their capabilities. Fleet Commander, do you know what the humans call the ship named Indomitable?" "A warship?" "They call it a diplomatic escort vessel." "A diplomatic escort, Valthos. That small ship has enough firepower to destroy a planet. It is designed for peaceful missions. We do not want to discover what their actual warships look like. Withdraw. Now." The transmission ended. Valthos sat frozen in his chair. Around him, his officers waited nervously. Finally, he spoke. "All ships reverse course. We are leaving this system." The Veltharan fleet began to turn around. It was a slow process, humiliating for warriors who had never retreated before. But they had no choice. On the Retribution, the crew watched in silence as the enemy fleet withdrew. "They are running," Jaehua said quietly. "They are learning," Kang corrected. Today the galaxy learned an important lesson. Humans do not want war. But we are very, very good at it. As the Veltharan ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Vrexus opened a private channel to Captain Day-Wan. "Captain Kim, I must ask you something. Why did you help us? We scanned your ship, we insulted you, we even fired on you, yet you defended us against the Veltharans. Why?" Day-Wan thought for a moment before answering. "Commander, you made a mistake out of ignorance, not evil. You apologized when you realized your error. The Veltharans came to conquer and enslave. My people know the difference between an accident and an attack. We help those who make mistakes. We destroy those who make war." "Your species is strange," Vrexus said. "You build weapons of terrible power, yet you show mercy." "We build terrible weapons because we know what war really costs," Day-Wan replied. "We show mercy because we remember what it is like to receive none. That is what 10,000 years of fighting taught us." On ships throughout the system, people began to understand. Humanity was not just another species with advanced technology. They were survivors who had learned the hardest lessons the universe could teach. They had fought their way through ice ages, diseases, and their own terrible wars. When they finally reached the stars, they brought all that knowledge with them. Merchant Captain Min Seo-yoon sent a message to Earth, reporting everything she had seen. Her hands shook as she wrote. "The galaxy thought we were newcomers. They thought we were weak. Today they learned the truth. Humans are not newcomers to war. We are veterans. And we came to space hoping never to fight again. But if we must fight, we will win. God help anyone who forces us to prove it." As the trading corridor began to return to normal, Captain Day-Wan received a priority message from Earth Command. His face went pale as he read it. He looked at his crew with worried eyes. "What is wrong, Captain?" Commander Ji-Woo asked. "The energy signature from our railgun demonstration was detected across 3 sectors. Day-Wan said slowly. "We have received first contact requests from 17 different civilizations." 3 weeks had passed since what people were now calling the Indomitable incident. The galaxy had changed. The balance of power had shifted, and everyone was still trying to figure out what it all meant. A massive ship arrived at the trading station. It was twice the size of even the largest carrier, painted white with blue markings. This was the Concordia, a diplomatic vessel from Earth. It carried Admiral Dong-Hyun Che, the supreme commander of all Earth Defense Forces, along with 50 advisors and diplomats. Admiral Che was an old man, past 70 with white hair and a face full of wrinkles. But his mind was sharp and his eyes missed nothing. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion 40 years ago. He had helped design the current generation of human warships. He knew exactly what humanity had unleashed on the galaxy. Captain Day-Wan met him in the docking bay of the trading station. They saluted each other formally, then Che smiled and shook his hand. You have created quite a mess, Captain, Che said. His voice was rough but kind. I am sorry, sir. We only defended ourselves, I know, and you did the right thing. But now we have to deal with the consequences. Che gestured toward a conference room. Come, we have much to discuss. The conference room was filled with people. Human diplomats sat on one side. Alien representatives sat on the other. There were Kaltorians, including Vrexus, who had been promoted to ambassador. There were representatives from the Neutral Worlds Coalition. There were observers from a dozen other species. Dr. Heywan An, a xenopolitical analyst, stood to give the first briefing. She was a small woman with glasses and a serious expression. The situation is complex, she began. In 3 weeks, we have received contact from 47 different civilizations. Some want military alliances, some want technology exchanges, some want protection, and some want nothing to do with us because they are afraid. What about the Veltharans? Someone asked. They have begun a massive military buildup. They are trying to develop weapons to counter ours. But there is good news. 3 of their client states have declared independence. They see that the Veltharans are no longer invincible. Ambassador Quorath, a tall alien with crystal-like skin, spoke up. The Neutral Worlds Coalition has a request for humanity. We would like you to help establish a peacekeeping force. Many smaller species live in fear of larger empires. They need protection. Admiral Che nodded. We will consider it. But understand this. Humans did not come to space to be soldiers. We have fought enough wars. If we agree to protect others, it will be on our terms. What terms? Quorath asked. We will defend those who cannot defend themselves. We will stop aggressors. But we will not conquer. We will not take slaves. We will not impose our government on others. We are protectors, not rulers. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Vrexus spoke. The Kaltorian Empire wishes to propose a defensive alliance with Earth. We have much to learn from each other. You have superior weapons technology. We have knowledge of galactic politics and trade routes. Together we could bring stability to this entire sector. Dr. Youngmi Ko, a human diplomat, smiled. 3 weeks ago you scanned our ship and almost started a war. Now you want to be allies? Vrexus did not look embarrassed. 3 weeks ago I was ignorant. Now I am educated. I know that humans could have destroyed my fleet easily. Instead, you showed restraint. You gave us a chance to understand. That is not the action of conquerors. That is the action of people we can trust. Captain Junseo Kwon, who had been appointed to lead the new Earth Defense Force Diplomatic Corps, stood up. He was young and enthusiastic, eager to make the galaxy a better place. I have been working on protocols for first contact situations, he said. The Indomitable incident happened because of cultural misunderstandings. The Kaltorians did not know that scanning a human ship was an act of aggression. We need to educate everyone about our customs and learn about theirs. That is a good idea, Che said, but it will take time. In the meantime, we need to make sure everyone understands one thing very clearly. He stood and looked around the room. Humans want peace. We truly do. But we will not be victims. Attack us and we will respond with overwhelming force. Threaten us and we will make you regret it. Leave us alone and we will be the best friends you ever had. The choice is always theirs. Back on the Indomitable, the crew was adjusting to their new role. They were no longer just another ship. They were famous. The ship that had shown the galaxy what humans could do. Lieutenant Hana Lee sat in the weapons bay, doing maintenance on one of the railguns. Junho Han, the Marine commander, came to sit beside her. Do you think we did the right thing? Hana asked quietly. What do you mean? We showed the galaxy our weapons. Now everyone is either afraid of us or wants to use us. Maybe we should have stayed hidden. Junho shook his head. The Kaltorians scanned us. We could not hide after that. And maybe it is better this way. Now everyone knows not to start a fight with humans. That might save lives in the long run. Or it might make us targets, Hana said. Then we defend ourselves. That is what these weapons are for. He patted the railgun. Every species we have met developed weapons to conquer. Humans developed weapons to survive. There is a difference. In another part of the ship, Dr. Taeyang Choi was giving a tour to a group of Kaltorian engineers. They had come to learn about human technology as part of the new alliance. This is the antimatter containment system, Taeyang explained. It uses 7 independent magnetic fields. If one fails, the others take over. But why so many? One Kaltorian asked. It seems wasteful. Because we assume everything will break, Taeyang replied. Human engineering is based on one simple idea. Prepare for the worst possible outcome, then prepare for something even worse. We call it paranoid engineering. It has kept us alive for a long time. Another Kaltorian looked around the reactor room. Your whole ship is like this, isn't it? Everything has backups. Everything is over-designed. Yes, Tae-Yang said. Because humans do not build ships expecting to win battles. We build ships expecting to lose battles and survive anyway. We build ships that can keep fighting even when half destroyed. That is the secret of human military design. We plan for disaster. The Kaltorians looked at each other with new understanding. This was not just superior technology. This was a completely different way of thinking. Humans had survived so many disasters on their home world that they built survival into everything they made. On the trading station, Admiral Kang was meeting with representatives from several smaller species. They were afraid and wanted protection from larger empires that might try to conquer them. We will help you, Kang said, but you must understand our rules. We will defend you from aggression. We will not tell you how to run your governments. We will not take your resources. We will not interfere in your internal affairs. All we ask in return is that you live in peace with your neighbors. That is all? One alien asked suspiciously. You want nothing else? We want peace, Kang replied. We have seen enough war to last 10,000 lifetimes. If protecting you brings peace, then that is payment enough. The meeting ended and the aliens left. Commander Warship approached Kang. Do you think they believe us, Admiral? Not yet, Kang said. They are used to empires that conquer and control. The idea of protection without domination is strange to them. But they will learn. We will show them through our actions, not just our words. 6 months later, the new order was taking shape. The neutral world's peacekeeping force had been established, with human warships at its core. The Kaltorian Empire had signed a defensive alliance with Earth. Trade routes were becoming safer as pirates learned that attacking protected convoys meant facing human warships. The Veltheran hegemony had become quieter, focusing on internal matters. 3 of their former client states were now free and had joined the neutral world's coalition. The balance of power had shifted away from conquest and toward cooperation. Captain Daewon stood on the observation deck of the Indomitable, watching ships pass by. Vrexus, now a permanent liaison officer aboard the human ship, stood beside him. They had become unlikely friends. Do you ever regret scanning our ship? Daewon asked. Vrexus was quiet for a moment. In a way, it was the best mistake I ever made. Yes, it was terrifying. Yes, I thought we were all going to die. But it taught me something important. It taught me that strength is not just about weapons. It is about knowing when to use them and when not to. That is a hard lesson to learn, Daewon said. Yes. But humans learned it long ago. You have been fighting for 10,000 years. You know that war is not glorious. It is terrible. That is why you avoid it when possible, and win it quickly when necessary. They watched a convoy of merchant ships pass by, protected by 2 human warships and 3 Kaltorian vessels. Traders from a dozen different species worked together now, no longer afraid of pirates or aggressive empires. My people have a saying, Daewon said. It is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. We are warriors, Vrexus. We will always be warriors. But maybe for the first time we can use that to create peace instead of just survival. Vrexus nodded. Your species is strange. You build ships that can destroy planets and call them escorts. You design weapons that break physics and call them defensive systems. 1 year after the Indomitable incident, the galaxy had settled into a new reality. The Galactic Council, a gathering of hundreds of species, had convened its first emergency session in 50 years. The subject, humanity and its place in galactic civilization. The council chamber was enormous, a sphere floating in space with transparent walls showing the stars beyond. Representatives from every major civilization sat in their designated sections. The atmosphere was tense. Admiral Dong-Hyun Chai stood in the center, representing humanity. He wore his formal uniform, dark blue with silver stars. Around him, thousands of aliens watched and waited, some with fear, some with hope, some with calculation. The council speaker, an ancient being named Eldest Mora, opened the session. Her voice echoed through the chamber. We gathered to discuss the human question. In 1 year, humanity has changed the balance of power in 3 sectors. Some call them saviors. Some call them threats. Today we will hear the truth. Admiral Chai, you may speak. Che bowed respectfully and began. Honored delegates, I will not lie to you or hide our nature. Humans are warriors. We have been fighting for our entire history. We have survived extinctions, diseases, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed most species. When we came to space, we brought that history with us. He paused and looked around the chamber. You scanned our ships and found weapons that scared you. Good. They should scare you. They scare us too. We built them because we know what happens when you are not prepared. We know what happens when you are weak. Our history is written in the bones of billions who died because they could not defend themselves. A delegate from the Thexian Collective spoke up. Are you saying you came to conquer us? No, Che said firmly. We came to survive. There is a difference. Conquerors take what they want because they can. Survivors take what they need because they must. We need peace. We need trade. We need friends. We do not need territory or slaves or tribute. We have everything we need on our own worlds. Then why the weapons? Another delegate asked. Because peace requires strength, Che replied. We learned this the hard way. In our history, peaceful civilizations were destroyed by aggressive ones. Kind people were enslaved by cruel ones. Weak nations were conquered by strong ones. We decided long ago that we would never be the weak ones again. We would never be the victims again. So yes, we built terrible weapons. But we built them, hoping never to use them. Vrexus stood in the Kaltorian section. He had been given permission to speak as an ally of humanity. I can confirm what Admiral Che says, Vrexus began. 1 year ago, I made the mistake of scanning a human warship without permission. They could have destroyed my entire fleet in minutes. Instead, they gave me a chance to apologize. They taught me the difference between strength and aggression. Humans have power, yes, but they also have restraint. That combination is rare in the galaxy. Ambassador Quorath from the Neutral Worlds Coalition also stood. The smaller species of this galaxy have lived in fear for centuries. Fear of pirates, fear of slavers, fear of empires that take what they want. In 1 year, humanity has done more to bring peace to the trade routes than the Galactic Council has done in 50 years. They ask nothing in return except that we trade fairly and live peacefully. How is this a threat? But not everyone was convinced. A representative from the Vortan Empire stood. The Vortans were an old and powerful species who did not like being challenged. Admiral Che speaks of peace, but I see only weapons. He speaks of defense, but I see fleets that could conquer systems. How do we know humans will not turn those weapons on us someday? Che met the Vortan's eyes steadily. You do not know. You must trust us just as we must trust you. But I will tell you this. In 10,000 years of human history, we have learned one lesson above all others. War is easy to start and hard to stop. Killing is easy. Building is hard. Destroying takes moments. Creating takes lifetimes. We are tired of destroying. We want to create. But we will destroy anyone who threatens what we have built. The choice is always yours. The debate continued for hours. Some species pledged friendship. Others remained suspicious. But slowly understanding began to grow. Humans were not like other species. They had come to space already knowing the costs of war. They had learned restraint through suffering, not through philosophy. Finally, eldest Mora spoke again. The Council will vote on formal recognition of humanity as a major galactic power. Those in favor? Lights appeared throughout the chamber. Green for yes, red for no, yellow for abstain. When the count was finished, the result was clear. 347 voted yes. 92 voted no. 115 abstained. Humanity was officially recognized. It is decided, Mora said. Humanity is welcomed into the galactic community. May they bring the peace they promise and the strength they possess. The session ended. As delegates began to leave, many approached Chai to speak with him personally. Some wanted to establish trade relations. Some wanted to discuss military cooperation. Some simply wanted to understand these strange newcomers better. Dr. Young Mi Ko, who had accompanied Che, smiled as she watched. "We did it. We are officially part of the galaxy now." "Yes," Che replied. "But this is just the beginning. Now comes the hard part. Living up to our promises." Meanwhile, on the Indomitable, life continued. The ship was no longer just a warship. It had become a symbol of what humans represented to the galaxy. Captain Daewon walked through the corridors checking on his crew. They had been assigned to patrol the newly established peaceful trade zone, an area where small merchant ships could travel without fear of pirates or aggressive empires. In the mess hall, he found Lieutenant Hana Lee having lunch with several Kaltorian officers who were serving as exchange crew. They were laughing together, sharing stories. A year ago, they had almost been enemies. Now they were friends. In the engineering bay, Dr. Taiyang Choi was teaching a class to alien engineers. They came from a dozen different species, all eager to learn about human technology. But more importantly, they were learning about human thinking, the paranoid engineering, the redundant systems, the assumption that everything would fail. "Your species plans for the apocalypse," one student said. "Yes," Taiyang agreed, "because we have survived several ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, nuclear wars. Every time we almost went extinct. Every time we survived because some of us prepared for the worst. Now it is a habit. We cannot stop preparing, even in times of peace." "Is that not exhausting?" "Yes," Taiyang said with a tired smile, "but it keeps us alive. And alive is better than extinct." On the bridge, Commander Jiwoo was monitoring communications. Messages came in constantly now. Requests for assistance, reports of pirate activity, trade disputes, diplomatic negotiations. Humanity had become busier than ever. "Captain," she said as Daewon entered, "we have received a distress call from a civilian convoy. They are being attacked by raiders in the Kepler system." "Distance?" 3 hours at maximum speed. "Set course. Full speed. Send a message to the raiders. Tell them to leave immediately or face consequences." The Indomitable jumped to faster-than-light speed. 3 hours later, they emerged in the Kepler system. The raiders were still there, surrounding 3 merchant ships. The raiders had 12 ships all armed with heavy weapons. The raider leader sent a mocking message. "1 human ship against 12? You should have brought more friends." Daewon's response was calm. "I do not need friends. I have weapons. Last chance. Leave now or be destroyed." The raiders laughed and prepared to attack. They thought 12 against 1 was good odds. They were wrong. The Indomitable opened its hull and deployed its 8 subships. Suddenly, the raiders faced not 1 ship, but 8. 8 fully armed warships, each with enough firepower to level a city. "This is your final warning," Daewon said. The raider leader was not laughing anymore. His sensors were showing him the power levels of the human ships. He knew suddenly and completely that he had made a terrible mistake. "We are leaving," he said quickly. "We are leaving right now." The raider ships turned and fled. They jumped to faster-than-light speed as fast as their engines could manage. The merchant ships were saved without a single shot being fired. The grateful merchants sent messages of thanks. One of them, a Kaltorian trader, added something interesting. "A year ago, we would have been enslaved or killed. Now 1 human ship can protect an entire convoy just by showing up. The galaxy is changing, Captain, and it is changing for the better." That evening, Daewon stood on the observation deck with Vrexus. They had developed a routine of meeting here to talk about the day's events. "Do you know what I find most interesting about humans?" Vrexus asked. "What?" "You don't enjoy war. Every other warrior species I know takes pride in battle. They celebrate violence. They glorify conquest. But humans? You build the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, but you seem almost sad about it." Daewon nodded slowly. "That is because we know the cost. Every weapon we build represents someone we could not save. Every battle we win is a reminder of battles we lost. We remember our dead, Vrexus. All of them. The billions who died in our wars. The millions who starved in famines. The countless who suffered because humans fought humans. We carry that weight, we cannot forget it.